Hey everybody, it's Paul from Alexander Knife Sharpening and Laser Engraving. We got a beautiful snowy day here in Virginia. It's our first snowy day. It kind of came at a good time, so whenever I get snow, I tend to not to get too many customers that day. But it's actually a good thing because I have a really important laser engraving job that came in that could be very big for my business. So here's what happened. I had a jewelry store contact me, and their regular engraver went like overseas on vacation for a few months, and they need some things engraved, and they didn't have anybody. So they reached out to me. They came by the shop yesterday to take a look and see what I had going here. They brought me 4 Tag Heuer watch clasps that they need engraved, that it looks like it's something every year they get from a local business that buys watches for people that are retiring. What's really nice though is the owner only lives a few blocks from here and said, if this works out, I pass your house on my way home. It would be really great to just be able to drop off things that we need engraved for the shop right at your house. That is also pretty exciting. I can't screw this job up. It's very important that I get this job right. And I also had to do a little bit of research because most of the stuff I've done is the pretty standard engraving stuff. And now we're talking, this is another kind of level, okay? We're talking Tag Heuer watches, not inexpensive watches. The clasps are not inexpensive. They're also a little bit different than a lot of the stainless steel that I normally engrave. So stainless steel comes in a lot of different grades. And you guys know I usually use real thick business cards to do test engravings on. The main difference here is this is 304L stainless steel. So it's a higher quality. It's harder. It's going to be a little bit harder to get a nice deep engraving on it. The other thing that was important here is they didn't want any color to the engraving. They wanted it just kind of cut in and more of that white style engraving than what a lot of times we do on knives, which is like a black kind of burned in dark engraving. Now, I have had people even with knives that just wanted it kind of cut in. So that's what I had to do, and I had to do some testing. I also didn't have any 304L stainless steel to even test on. I wasn't super concerned about it. It's pretty common, jewelry stainless steel. And that's where I also wanted to tell you guys about, ChatGPT. This is another area where ChatGPT can be really helpful. I did a bunch of research. I punched a bunch of things into ChatGPT. I told it what kind of lasers I have. I told it the different fiber lasers I have. I told it about the UV laser and asked what would be the very best laser for this. And it said that my ComMarker B6 would be the best laser. So not the xTool F1 Ultra, not the Omni for exactly what we wanted here, that kind of cut in but then polished look. It said you definitely want to use your ComMarker B6. The job's due on Tuesday. I would have really loved to use the 60 watt MOPA that's coming on Monday, but it would be cutting it too close, and I don't want to risk there be something wrong or I don't get the new laser configured in time. So I figured, hey, let's just go with what we know, what we're used to, and let's use the ComMarker B6. So I want to show you a couple things here. And I also want to show you a couple things that are cool about when we talk about light burn. And a lot of guys, you will ask me like, hey, you like xTool lasers, but you also, like the ComMarker. And the ComMarker, in my opinion, as I've said before, with light burn, it's just more professional software. And this is the kind of things where you can see that difference. If you're doing crafting stuff, it's not that big a deal. But when you start getting into really specific things like this, where we're doing some Tag Heuer watches and we want it to look exactly a specific way, there's settings and things that I can do in Lightburn that I can't necessarily do in xTool Creative Space. Now, or I should say xTool Studio, because that's the new one. I can do a lot of them, but can't necessarily do them all when we start getting into like the beam angles and another thing that I had to do in here, I was trying to do some really fine adjustments and moving the engraving around, and I'll show you that. because you can go into Lightburn and I can tell it exactly down to percentages of millimeters how much I want it to move that engraving left, right, up or down with the arrow key. I've never been able to do that on xTool. I don't believe that function exists where I can tell it like this is when I hit shift and arrow key, this is how much you move, and I can change that and adjust it at any time. So I'll show you some little things like that. And that's another reason why, if you get really serious into it, why I still think it's always good to learn Lightburn. I'll flip the camera around and show you a bit of the project. Alrighty, got a couple things downloaded and we are still waiting to do this engraving. So let's jump over into Lightburn. I just wanted to show you a couple of things here. One of the things I was trying to do when you're doing with jewelry and moving the engraving around and with the framing that the laser does, you sometimes have to do super tiny increments. And I want to show you a really cool setting that is in Lightburn that I don't know of in xTool Studio. I think the only way to move stuff there is with your X and Y. You can move things with the arrow, but you can't control the amount of movement. I want to show you a cool feature here that I've always liked about Lightburn. So we're going to come up here to our settings. So right here, we got the little gear icons. And if you come over here to unit, shape movement increments. Okay. So if I hold down the control arrow and arrow keys, so hold down control and hit arrow, it's going to move 2 millimeters in any direction. If I don't hold down anything, it's going to move 5 millimeters. Now, I had shift and arrow set at 1 millimeter, but I was trying to make really tiny adjustments to this lower level A, B, and the date, and it was just moving too far. So I came in here and I adjusted that all the way down to 1/4 of a millimeter, 0.25. And that gave me the ability to make little micro adjustments to anything I needed to move on the laser just by holding down the shift key. And I could change that to anything. I could make it even smaller, minute increments. But 0.25 was just enough. And that helped me get the engraving placed exactly where I wanted it on the clasp. So I thought I'd show you that. It's a pretty cool feature that I've always liked about Lightburn. And I'm no Lightburn expert, trust me. I'm always learning in Lightburn, and a lot of times I have to go out and seek out other assistance there, but we're getting there. We're getting pretty good with it, and there's certain times I absolutely love it. So here's the other thing we're doing here. Because we don't want a dark black engraving, what we're doing here is we are going to do multiple passes. So up here, this first pass that's at speed 320 at 98% power, that's the cut pass. And you'll see I even named it down here, cut. And that's what's going to give us our deep engraving. And then on top of this, where it says Keenan Produce, is a complete copy of Keenan Produce. So there's 2 layers there of exactly the same thing. They're just stacked on top of each other. But you'll see the blue one up here has different settings. So that's 1400 speed, a higher frequency, 60, which will help clean everything out. It's got a different scan angle. It's a 90-degree scan angle, straight up and down, and it's 1 pass. So that's going to be kind of like what we would a lot of times call a cleaning pass, and that's going to take any soot out, but also keep it from having that black engraving look. And I did do a test on a business card. Like I said, even though it's a little bit different, stainless steel, it's about the same thickness, and it's going to cut into the business card a little bit deeper, a little bit more easy. So I know I might have to do, I did 2 passes on the business card. I might have to do 3 on the clasp because this is a higher quality stainless steel that's harder. But that's something we're going to judge on this first class step by step. But I wanted to show you that. Let me show you the cut and pass too. I'll show you that real quick here. So that was speed 320. Frequency, notice the frequency is a lot lower. It's 30, and that's going to cut deeper. And then we have 98% power, so almost full power. And It's probably going to be multiple passes, but I have it set for one until I determine how many passes we want it to be. We're at a 0.018, which is 1,411 lines per inch. Our scan angle was 67. That was all stuff that was recommended by the research I had ChatGPT to. All right, so we're getting ready to do the top part of this clasp. This is the first part of the engraving, which is the going deep part. And it might get a little dark here, but we're going to take that away. But we have to do it in stages because we don't know exactly how many passes we're going to need to go to get it to the depth that we want. You'll also see that I'm using a device here to have everything locked in, and I have all these little 3D printed clamps that are holding everything exactly in place. So if I have to do multiple passes, I don't have to worry about anything getting bumped or moved. And that's really important when you're doing things like this. I'm going to switch it to the bounding box, which will just give us a square so you can see the alignment. Okay, and there you can see the square. And that's right in the middle between those two little marks. We got our Tag Heuer going the right way. And this is just the name of the company. So we're going to get started here and see how this goes. We are all set up for the cut pass, and this will maybe need to be done multiple times. On the business card, it took 2 times for me to get the depth that I wanted. It could be more on this one, but we will find out here in a second. So here we go. We are underway. I'm just going to put my safety glasses on, and I'm going to turn on my fume hood. Okay, got my glasses on, and I am hitting my foot pedal. Each time I hit the foot pedal, it will repeat the same engraving if I need to do it more than once. Another important thing is make sure your foot pedals are in a good location. You don't want to accidentally step on them. I did that once before, and that could be devastating if you have something expensive under the laser and you start engraving it before you want to. Okay, I'm going to do a second pass, but that does look like it went pretty well. Here's a second pass. Okay, so now we're going to turn that pass off, and we're going to go to the cleaning pass, which should brighten this up and give us the look that we're looking for. And there we go. I'm going to turn the framing off so you can see that. I still will give this a final clean with some LA's Awesome. There's a little bit of black on the outside of the engraving, but we'll clean that off by hand. I'm just going to bring you in here quickly so you can see that. All right, now we're going to do the bottom line. So we're going to turn that one off. This is going to be the initials and the years of service. All right, I made one small adjustment. I just bumped it up 0.25 of a millimeter. I want to make sure we're right in the middle, and I think we're good here. I'm just going to turn on my contour. So now we should see the initials. We got our AB, then we have spaces, and then 2005 to 2025, and we should be good to go. This time, I'm going to go in and tell it to do it all at once. So we know the 2 passes worked out good, so we're going to do 2 passes on the top setting, 1 pass on the clean setting, and we'll let this laser just finish this job out all at one time. There's our first cut pass, there's our second cut pass, and then we should be finishing, and there goes our clean pass, and we're done. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my favorite product, which is a little bit of LA's Awesome, just to give this a little bit of thorough cleaning to get any soot off. And there you can see the soot coming off with the LA's Awesome. Now, whenever I use LA's Awesome, I always like to follow it up with a better cleaner because I do find it's a little streaky. So a lot of times I'll use either Windex or Lysol surface spray that I've mixed with distilled water, and that tends to give me 0 streaks. And I am very happy with this. All right, we're taking it out. And there we go. That is exactly what we wanted. I think the client's going to be thrilled. I know I'm thrilled. I'm glad we didn't mess it up. All right, gang, here is class number 2, all already programmed in. I didn't have to do anything except for change some initials. And I'm going to hit the pedal here, and this time it's going to do the entire engraving all at once, top and bottom. We're not going to have to separate it into different parts. All right, all done. Just like last time, it looks great. We just need to clean it up, closed out the framing. And there we go, just as requested. 2 down. All right, so the last 2 look like they are for women's watches, and we're gonna have to do a little adjusting here for these last 2. So you can see this right here changed. I'm going to make a quick adjustment, and we're also, just to be sure, we're gonna remeasure our focus length. So we're going to be moving a few things around here. But I have 2 of these to do, so once I get the first one set, just like the last one, I should be able to just drop the next one right into here and have that be in the right spot. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing we did last time. We're going to adjust and make sure our focus is on the highest point, and it seems like it's the same. I didn't really see much movement there. But we're also probably going to have to shrink our letters down because these clasps are smaller. Probably going to have to change the font size. It's going to be a little bit smaller than the ones on the guy's watch. All right, so we can definitely see we have to shrink this font a good bit. The box is kind of going the full length, and it's a little bit outside. But we knew this. It's a woman's watch. It's going to be a little bit smaller. So everything's got to shrink in size a bit. So I'm gonna drop the Kini Produce down probably at least a 0.5 millimeter, and we'll see how that looks. Okay, gang, that looks perfect. I took off a 0.5 millimeter, so my font is 2.2 millimeters. Pretty tiny font, but should be fine. That looks good and centered. So now I'm gonna fix and adjust the bottom line, which is definitely gonna have to come up some. All right, first ladies clasp. All right, last one. Here we go. This worked out exactly as I hoped it would. The client was super happy. They came and picked up the engravings, and they dropped off 4 more items to be engraved, some baby's cups and a picture frame, all sterling silver stuff, which I'm going to do on the new laser. Shiny sterling silver can be kind of difficult to engrave, so the new 60-watt MOPA should be perfect for that job. We'll be doing it with the new laser when that gets here Monday.